Thank you, Presiding Officer. And thank you, Deputy Minister, for your statement today. And I was glad to hear that you have recognised and taken on board some of the criticisms laid out by the Future Generations Commissioner in implementing the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, in particular the need to make public bodies fully aware of legislation and its implications. I welcome the efforts of workshops, online learning and the conferences you have mentioned in order to help increase awareness. But with these in mind, are they a one-off, or are you looking to have them or similar as part of an ongoing engagement programme? If so, what budget have you allocated for this? In your statement, you mentioned, Deputy Minister, that you are waiting till public bodies are able to meet compliance before enforcing the duty to report, which you expect to be towards the end of the year. What assessment have you made of the cost implications of public bodies to be able to comply with the duties of the Act? And have you made any funds available for them to do this? As you will be aware, Deputy Minister, in some public bodies, resources are so limited that having a standalone procurement function is not feasible, and purchasing is made by non-procurement staff as and when their needs dictate. How do you propose that these public bodies progress with the Act? Will specific training be provided for non-procurement staff to help public bodies meet the obligations? And if so, will money be made available for them to recruit and train staff to meet compliance? Likewise, what specific resources will be made available to help promote procurement and procurement officers as a viable career pathway? As mentioned, you highlighted the use of workshops and online courses to make public bodies aware of the Act, but what specific training is now being offered so that procurement staff are able to assess, for instance, the carbon impact of their purchases, or if it supports the growth of jobs and skills in the local economy? Also, is the Deputy Minister aware of any specific software that is to be made available to help public bodies to do this, and what are the cost implications of this? Furthermore, I presume that public bodies will start to analyse their procurement procedures after they've carried out their first assessment. And as mentioned, Deputy Minister, there may be significant transition periods, and implementation may have to be staggered for public bodies to become compliant. I also expect that it will take time for public bodies to reorientate their procurement because of existing contractual obligations and commitments. Therefore, what time frame are you expecting for every public procurement contract in Wales to have met the requirements of the Act? Public bodies could well make the assessment and produce the report, but due to budget restraints, may not be able to afford to change suppliers or source goods locally, which could be more expensive. They're then put into a position of not being able to make changes to improve their procurement policy to meet the duties of the Act. How will you ensure that they actually make all the procurement changes they can? As you know, Deputy Minister, implementation of policy has been a real problem for the Welsh Government, and sadly, this legislation has the same potential for failure, in that public bodies do not have resources to make the changes needed, and therefore will not end up implementing them, especially if they believe that there will be no consequences. If a public body, for one reason or another, fails to comply with the new legislation, what enforcement action will be taken, and will this be punitive? Finally, Deputy Minister, you are in a unique position at the start of this Act's implementation to start collecting data, which will help you assess the overall success or failure of this legislation. With this in mind, what baseline metrics are you now going to measure? For example, will you look at the change in numbers of products sourced from Welsh companies, or the amount of food locally sourced? And crucially, will you be setting targets for public bodies to meet? And if so, how will you determine these targets? Thank you.